Round 5 of the 2013 TM Light season heads to the Peoria Motor Speedway in Illinois. The Delano Polo War goes to the number 73 Tremuel of Daniel Melrose. Melrose looks like he's going to get an excellent start going into turn 1. Ashley Tucker starting on his outside. Brandon LaRoe and Axel Anderson in row 2. You can see the huge jump Melrose gets coming out of 1. And now going into 2, Tucker's going to fall back behind Melrose as these two kind of separate themselves from the rest of the field early on. But it's not going to be too long before Tucker gets a run on Melrose coming out of 4. And it looks like he's going to take the lead from Melrose coming to lap 3. And it looks like she's going to take Brandon LaRoe with her. Melrose looks like he's going to drop back to 3rd. His points leader Paul Lyons had a terrible qualifying lap and is starting way back in the field. Lyons, one of the split winners at Piqua last week. As a result, it's caused him to have a massive lead in the points, but really dropped the ball on qualifying. He's going 3 wide with Matt Brinson and Gerald Johnson. But being that he has such a huge points lead, he can afford slight mishaps like this. Daniel Melrose looks like he's about to lose even more spots as Axel Anderson, it looks like he's about to challenge him for 4th. In the early stages of the race here, it looks fairly obvious that they had that car really hooked up for qualifying, not so much for the race. Here's Scott Washington, the second split winner at Piqua last week. He entered this race second in points behind Paul Lyons. He is currently running around the top 10 right now, battling with Costa Theodorakis. So he can take serious advantage of Paul Lyons' poor qualifying run and gain some serious ground in the points. As Washington is currently running in the points, Lyons is not. Here's 2011 champion Thurston Blood, currently running in the top 10 right now. Blood is not having a good season at all. He's way down in the points. Matter of fact, I think he's one of the bottom 5 drivers. But like I said before, he is in the top 10 right now. So looking to gain some ground. As you probably saw smoke as Blood went by. Nick Azure is going again in the back of Mariano Zavala and turning right into Archer Harris. Harris is going to go into the infield, come back up onto the track in front of Azure. Azure is then going to turn Harris into Zavala, and both of them spin into the inside of the track. The caution will not come out, though I don't know what Azure's doing. He's had the reputation of being a wrecking ball in Arla, so this is not really too surprising. Here's an onboard shot of Azure, as you're about to see contact with Zavala. Yeah, no really reason to do that. You see Harris come out of the shot, and you see him come back in here. Yeah, really nothing Azure could do about that, but the contact with Zavala was just unnecessary, especially this early in the race. Meanwhile, Brandon LaRoe trying to take the lead from Ashley Tucker, but he's not going to be able to do it. Like I said before, the outside is the stronger line. I said, unless you have help on the bottom, you're not really going to make the pass. So LaRoe is going to fall back behind Tucker for now. These two have pulled away from Axel Anderson, who is now taking 3rd from Daniel Melrose, who I think hit the wall just then. As let's see if LaRoe is going to have another shot at Tucker. I see, looks like he's got a shot here. No, he's going to think better of it, and he's going to stay behind Tucker for now. I see Anderson now pulling away from the rest of the field, as now Tucker's teammate Claire Ossier is now taking 4th from Melrose, as Melrose continues to drop back. But then Melrose comes onto pit road at the start of lap number 10. Now I don't know if there's any issue with that car. Didn't look like it. This is unusual strategy from the 73 team's part, as teams can go up to 20 laps, almost 20 laps on a tank of fuel here. As they must have thought him, might as well bring him in early, as I think it was fairly obvious that they started this race with a qualifying setup, and now they figured, why not bring him in early? But why this early? Meanwhile, back up front, LaRoe looks like he's finally going to have a run on Tucker coming to the start-finish line here. They're side by side going down the front stretch, going into turn 1. But Tucker has the preferred line, as it's going to show they're going to be side by side coming out of 1 and going into 2. LaRoe there's no momentum on the bottom line, so they're going to stay side by side, but that's now going to allow Axel Anderson to close the gap as these two continue to race each other for the lead. As you can see Anderson coming to the shot there, as he has really closed up that gap, and it looks like now he's taking Claire Ossier with him as well, as now LaRoe is going to have some help from Anderson, and LaRoe is finally going to take the lead from Tucker coming out of 4, and it looks like Tucker's also going to lose 2nd to Anderson, and looks like now being challenged for 3rd by her teammate Ossier. As you can see Dan Richards, the defending ASCC champion, hanging back there in 5th. Meanwhile, Mark Blackwell, Quan Shing, and Frederick Yeager are going to come into pit road following Daniel Melrose's pit strategy. Still don't get what the purpose of coming in this early is, but I think it's safe to say now that these are scheduled stops. Yeager, of course, driving the car that won here last year. Here is Cameron Taylor, last season's runner-up, hitting the wall coming out of turn 1. As you can probably look by the shot, he's running way in the back of the field. Taylor also not having a very good season. He's nowhere near the pace that he ran last year, as he hit the wall pretty good there, as he's not going to have a shot under Buffy Boreanaz here, so obviously didn't affect him too much. Meanwhile, Dan Richards has caught up to the 2 Lynx cars of Claire Alcier and Ashley Tucker. Like I said before, Richards won the ASCC title last season, and he beat Tony Durbin of all people to do it, and he also won the Rockford 200 last year, so in only a year's time he's already accomplished so much. He got picked up by EV Racing to run in lights this season. Unfortunately, he hasn't run too spectacularly, as you saw Alcier pass Tucker for 3rd. Cameron Taylor spent an extended time on pit road to repair damage. Obviously, the contact with the wall earlier was much worse than expected. And as you see, other cars coming down pit road, I believe that is Thurston Blood, Costa Theodorakos, Bobby Dollar, and Buffy Boreanaz. But no, Taylor's now going to lose an additional lap on pit road to fix that damage. One for the initial pit stop and another for the damage itself. Here's Joel Rodriguez, also having a strong run in the top 10, as he's going to come down pit road now along with Dan Richards. Then on lap 18, the rest of the field's going to come in for their scheduled green flag stops. As you see the top 4 here coming in as Vijay Pushanda is coming out. As you see them coming off the pit road, it looks like Claire Alcier is going to beat everybody off the pit road. You see LaRoe's going to lose a couple of spots, as you also see Scott Washington and Han Young Sung exit pit road. And after pit stop cycle through, it's going to be Claire Alcier is going to inherit the lead. Alcier has had a reputation in this series of being a crasher, but she does have one win in this series, which came in Darlington last year. And right now she does have a pretty sizable gap over Axel Andersson, who is now in 2nd. Meanwhile, Brandon LaRoe has dropped back to 5th in that cycle of stops. As you see, Dan Richards has jumped in front of him to 4th, who pitted a lap earlier, I believe. As you can also see in the shot, Daniel Melrose is now back to 6th. Only problem now is he's now off cycle, meaning he's now going to have to come in about 8 laps earlier than everybody else. Here's Joe Rodriguez now running in 3rd after pit stops, after an excellent stop by the Ontario National Motorsports team, who picked up Rodriguez this season despite finishing 5th in points last year with Sakura Motoko. So don't know why they would let go of Motoko like that, but Rodriguez does have plenty of experience in racing. He has raced in Master Cup, he's raced in Arla, among other things. But he has been running on and off in essentially everything ever since losing his Master Cup ride in 2009. But anyway, Rodriguez having a strong run today so far, looking to prove that replacing Motoko wasn't a mistake. Here's points leader Paul Lyons, who is slowly but surely moving his way up through the field after starting near the back. He's now just outside points paying positions, now battling with Jacob Eichholz. That Black Diamond Racing team has been one of the more competitive teams this season so far. Kind of a change of pace to see Lyons in a competitive ride after we've seen him pretty much perform miracles in the Team Burr car at Arla, and essentially being in his first competitive ride since being 5 from Team SAR USA in 2009. And as expected, Daniel Melrose is going to come to pit road much earlier than everybody else on lap 26. As it sees that pitting early strategy now coming to bite him, because now he's going to be off cycle with everybody else. Meanwhile, Axel Andersson is now going to have a shot at Claire Alcier for the lead as they go into turn 3, but you are going to see how much stronger the outside line is. Not only is Alcier going to preserve the lead, but it's actually going to reopen up the gap that he had on Andersson, and now Andersson's going to have to close that gap back up. Here's Brooke Ingerson and the number 61 from Matthews Motorsports, currently battling the 98 of Bobby Dollar for 10th. And as you can see, Bob Steffens coming to pit road for his green flag stop. Ingerson took over this car mid-season in 2012 after the late Tiffany Matthews voluntarily stepped out of this car. Matter of fact, Matthews actually won the pole for this race last year. But anyway, Ingerson having a decent run so far today. Meanwhile, Andersson's not going to have another shot at the lead here. Exiting turn 1, going into 2, 2. No, it's not going to do anything just yet. If he's going to make the pass work on the inside, he's going to have to time it just perfectly. As you saw, Joel Rodriguez back there still hanging out in 3rd. Now let's see, going into 3. No, he's not going to try anything here. Let's see if he's got anything going into 4. He's going to try to go under her, but no, doesn't have the momentum. As you see them going down the front stretch now. Let's see if he's got anything going into turn 1 again. Let's see, he's going to try to get under her, but, let's see, no, he had a way better exit than Alcier. And now they're side by side going into 2. Anderson's not going to have a better run going out of 2, and Anderson's now finally going to take the lead from Claire Alcier. As no, Alcier is still hanging there, but no, Anderson is going to have a better entry into 3, and Anderson is going to clear Alcier coming out of 4. As now Joel Rodriguez is now right behind Alcier. Paul Lyons and I believe that is Buffy Boreanaz are going to come in for their green flag stop. Someone else is in there with them. I believe that is Costa Theta Rocos. Cameron Taylor comes in, but he's a lap down. And Thurston Blood are also going to come in. But this group here and everybody else that pitted beforehand are going to get screwed over as the first caution is going to fly on lap 35. Quan Ching is going to get into the side of Han Young-sung, and he's going to turn himself, Young-sung, and Dan Richards into the wall. Luckily, no one else gets collected in this, as all 3 cars would continue on. Let's look at another angle of that. Now, I don't know what Ching was doing there. He was a lap down at the time, while Young-sung and Richards were running in the top 10. So now he pretty much ruined top 10 runs for both Young-sung and Richards, as they're going to have a considerable amount of damage, all because a lap car decided to be an idiot. But anyway, like I was saying before, that's not going to trap a bunch of cars a lap down who made their pit stops under green, as the rest of the field will now make their stops under yellow. Claire Alcier would resume the lead after pit stops. There's 27 cars remaining on the lead lap, as you see some of the cars trapped a lap down. Cameron Taylor, he's 2 laps down actually. You see Bobby Dollar, Bob Stephens. One of those is including Paul Lyons, as Alcier's gonna have a hard time trying to get around Cameron Taylor. As you can also see Bobby Dollar trying to get by Alcier now as well. Only difference is now that Dollar trying to get back on the lead lap, while Taylor would still be 1 lap down. As you can see here, the outside line and how strong it really is, and Dollar cannot really keep up by himself. As now Alcier is now receiving pressure from Anderson, and let's see, Alcier is going to try to get by Taylor here. Oh, almost made contact with him. Here is Steve Holiday Jr. in that uniquely colored 88 car for Ernest Lewis Racing, one of the newer teams to come on this year. And I also believe they're running for the Independence Trophy. Currently around in the top 10 right now. He hasn't been running too badly. I mean, he got the pole for Carbondale. As you see right now, he's in the middle of 2 lap cars. That is Paul Lyons and Bob Stephens. But anyway, decent run for Holiday so far. Meanwhile, Anderson's going to take advantage of the lap car of Cameron Taylor, as Alcier has still not gotten by him. He's going to use Taylor as a pick in order to take the lead from Alcier. Coming down the front stretch, going into 1. He can't seem to get by Taylor just yet. Let's see if he's got a run going into 2. And let's see here. And it looks like he's gonna have a much better exit, as he's gonna clear Cameron Taylor and is gonna leave the rest of the field to deal with the lap car. And now it looks like Joel Rodriguez is now gonna pass Alcier for 2nd. Remember, the outside is the better line, so he's gonna have a lot more momentum following Taylor rather than trying to get around him on the inside. As you see, he's going to take 2nd here. See Bobby Dollar back there, who's also a lap down. He's going to stick behind Taylor for the moment. Obviously, he's going to drop from the lead to 3rd in only a matter of a couple of laps. And you also see Brandon LaRoe and Scott Washington round out the top 5. And as you can see, Axel Anderson is now checked out thanks to Cameron Taylor, as Rodriguez and Alcier have now finally gotten around him. Anderson, who has been in this series since the old TM Junior Series in 2010. Believe it or not, he has not won a race in this series. He got picked up by Arlena Roderick's team this season, and has done an amazing job so far, looking for his first TM Lights win. Meanwhile, Claire Alcier looks like she's going to take 2nd back from Joel Rodriguez with the help of the lap car of Bobby Dollar. As you see, she's going to have a much better exit coming out of 4, and she's going to take back 2nd from Rodriguez, and now looks to chase down Anderson. As Rodriguez looks like he's now going to lose 3rd to Brandon LaRoe. As you see, LaRoe got the spot now going into 4. Let's see here. Looks like Rodriguez is going to have a much better exit. And they're side by side going down the front stretch. Coming to the start-finish line now. Let's see if Rodriguez can make it stick going into 4. As you can see, yes, he's staying there. Still side by side, coming out of 1, going into 2. As you can see, Rodriguez is going to make it stick. He's going to keep the spot, or take back the spot, should I say. As you can see, Scott Washington now challenged LaRoe for 4th. Steve Holiday Jr. now up to 6th. However, outside line is stronger. Washington's not going to get as lucky as Rodriguez. As you can see, coming into the shot now, Brooke Ingerson is running in 7th now. As you see, Buffy Boyanos hit the wall. However, I believe she's a lap down. Nick Asher now just running outside of points-paying positions, battling with Matt Brinson, who I believe is still on the lead lap. Quan Xing is not. Asher got his best career finish of 3rd last week at Piqua, and is currently showing that this TM Light season is going a hell of a lot better than his Arla season, which it seems like he wrecks out every week. But anyway, after running in the back before that caution, Asher may get some points out of the deal today. And speaking of cautions, the second and final caution flew on lap 51. Ashley Tucker is going to be stuck behind the lap car of Cameron Taylor. He's going to put Taylor and herself into the wall. Buffy Boyanos gets a piece of it, and it looks like she's fine right here. Then she's going to get T-boned on the passenger side by Archer Harris. He's going to go for a ride upside down as the rest of the field is going to pile into it. As Daxter Hamlin and Joe Olenek also go for wild rides, as there's a huge wreck coming out of turn 4. Now an onboard shot of Tucker. So that contact was pretty much shows that I guess the leaders were the only ones that were sick or tired of being behind Taylor. You see, there's a hit from Harris as she goes for a ride upside down for a while before eventually rolling back onto her wheels. As you see, Hamlin and Olenek also roll over as well. Here's an area shot now. As you're going to see, it looks like Taylor may have went up into Tucker. As I said before, everything looks fine here. So there's the hit from Harris. Luckily, that is the passenger side. Tucker was able to climb out of the car under her own power, but a wild ride indeed. Here is the front bumper cam of Archer Harris. No, this is going to be an interesting angle. As you see, there comes Tucker right there, and there goes the camera. So yeah, I don't think there's really anything Harris can do there. He really had nowhere to go. This happened behind the initial wreck. Bob Steffens, who is running a lap down, as you see here, is going to get turned by Leah Cerrone into the turn 4 wall. So luckily no one else will hit him, as they got the wreck up ahead to worry about. As you see, Steffens going to continue on. As there is the huge pile up that ensued in front of him, as Steffens going to get around that no problem. Running along with Bob Steffens now. I don't know. That's one's kind of hard to call. I guess you could say that Steffens was reacting to the wreck ahead and moved down into Cerrone. Then again, you can say the same thing about Cerrone, that she may have moved up into Steffens. Again, that's a hard one to call, as CC Steffens slowing down for the wreck ahead. Now this was the cause of the pileup, which was behind the initial wreck, and the reason why this wreck was bigger than it really needed to be. Mike Andrews got a shot from Calvin O'Reilly, which is going to spin him into Cameron Taylor. James Davidson and Mark Blackwell slide trying to avoid, and that's going to block the entire track. Let's see, Joe Olenek gets a shot from Daxter Hamlin, which is going to cause him to flip over. The impact in which causes Hamlin also to get airborne and flip him over. As you see, Jacob Eichholz, Quan Xing, Nick Azure, Yafali and Miha also involved in this, among others. One more slow-mo cam. As you see there, Buffy Boyanos, she gets a piece of it. Really nothing she can do there. She will continue on, however, I believe. As you see there, here comes Paul Lyons. He's actually going to get a piece of this. The points leader clips the end of Tucker's car, and that's going to mess up the front end of Lyons' car, and he'll be done for the day. As I said before, the entire track was essentially blocked, so there was really nothing that anybody behind this could do except to just pile into it, as 17 cars would be involved in this. I think 11 would retire from the race. After a short red flag period, Axel Anderson will continue to lead on the restart, as Joe Rodriguez, who is still in second, has had the idea with lap traffic. That is Bobby Dollar, who is still a lap down, trying to get his lap back, along with his fellow Black Diamond Racing teammate, Robert Blake, who I believe pitted before that caution. As you saw in the shot there, Darren Cardell, on the tail end of the lead lap, he also pitted before that caution. As you see, Anderson having a hard time to get around the two Black Diamond cars, as Black Diamond Racing, one of the two 3-car teams in the series. Remember, they acquired actually Bobby Dollar's team before the season, as even though he's on the outside, he's having a really hard time trying to get around them. Like I said before, outside has been the stronger line, but if there's help on the bottom, you're going to make the pass, and it's just going to make it that much harder on the outside. As you can see here, the battle for third really heating up between Scott Washington and Claire Alcier. Washington looking to capitalize on Paul Lyons now being out of the race, as Alcier looks like he's going to take third from Washington, as you see pole sitter Daniel Melrose, who is a lap down. Remember, he got trapped there from the first caution. Brooke Ingerson now in fifth, as there's a bunch of lap cars around them. But not too much later, Washington's going to put himself into the wall, and that's going to allow Ingerson to pass him for fourth, as there may be some slight damage to that zero car after that impact, as Brandon LaRoe is now looking to pass Washington now for fifth. As you can also see Steve Holliday Jr. there in sixth, as the rest of the field, I believe, is being held up by some of the damaged cars from that big wreck. Meanwhile, Claire Alcier has gone around Joel Rodriguez for second and is now right behind Axel Anderson for the lead, as Anderson's still trying to struggle around the lap car of Robert Blake, as it looks like he's going to finally do that, as Bobby Dollar is now pulled ahead of Anderson and is now back on the lead lap. As you see, Darren Cardell looks like he's pulled away. As you can see, Claire Alcier looks like she's finally going to try to get around Anderson for the lead. As you see, they're side by side, exiting three. Let's see who's going to have the better run out of four. It looks like Alcier is going to take the lead from Anderson. So it seems that that 11 car is really hooked up today, as she's been probably the fastest car all day, as she's probably led most of the race so far. As you see, battle for third back there between Joel Rodriguez and Brooke Ingerson. Now let's take a look at that battle for third, as Brooke Ingerson is going to have a strong run out of four with the help from the lap car of Lane Cranston, as Rodriguez has no help on the outside, even though that is the preferred line, like I've said multiple times already. As let's see, coming out of one, yeah, they're side by side, but it looks like Ingerson's going to have the better run coming out of two, and she's going to take third from Rodriguez, as now Rodriguez is now battling Cranston himself. Here is Jacob Card in the number 15 for Rick Milligan Racing, currently running in 8th right now. Haven't talked a lot about him today. He's mostly run anonymous all day, but he avoided the big wreck, and here he is now running in the top 10. Card joining Rick Milligan Racing after driving the EV Racing 133 car last season, and is currently Rick Milligan's only hope now that Archer Harris is out. Meanwhile, further back, Scott Washington is going to hit the wall again, as he's continuing to drop downward, as I believe he's now outside the top 10. So like I said earlier, really could have capitalized on Paul Lyons' misfortunes, but it looks like that's no longer going to be the case, or at least not as much as he could have. Also, it looks like Joel Rodriguez is starting to move backwards, as he's now being passed for 5th by Steve Holliday Jr. Rodriguez looked like he had a very strong car in the first half of the race. It looks like he really could have contended for the win. Now it looks like that car has fallen off a bit, and then not too much later, he's now going to look like he'll be challenged for 6th by Jacob Card. So yeah, it looks like that car has really fallen off since that restart, as Rodriguez went from 2nd to now looks like he's about to lose 6th. Meanwhile, Brooke Ingerson looks like, oh, Anderson made contact with the wall and almost bumped right back into Ingerson, as she's going to take 2nd from him, as Anderson may now have some damage to that 4 car. We'll have to wait and see as Ingerson starts to pull away there. As you see, Brandon LaRoe not too far behind him, and in no time at all, LaRoe looks like he's going to catch up to Anderson and is going to pass him for 3rd. So, similar to what happened to Scott Washington, it looks like that same thing's now happening to Axel Anderson here. Real shame, because he definitely had one of the strongest cars of the day, as you now see the lap car of Lane Cranston now catching up to him, and Steve Holliday Jr. still chilling back there in 5th. Meanwhile, a bit further back, the lap car Bob Steffens is going to turn Han Yun Sung into the inside wall there, as both cars will continue going, as the caution will not come out because of this. But anyway, as for Young Sung, you got to feel bad for him, as he did an excellent job on recovering after being involved in the very first caution, which was under very similar circumstances. He just got back up to the top 10, and now it's the 2nd time this race that he's screwed over by a lap car, as he would spend an extended amount of time on pit road to repair that damage. Meanwhile, back up front, Claire Alcier looks like she's running away with this so far, as she's finally caught up to the lap car of Bobby Dolly, who was trying to stay on the lead lap there, as you saw Darren Cardell come in to pit road there to kick off the final round of green flag pit stops. Coming to 12 to go. Also coming in this lap is Leah Cerrone in the other remaining Lynx car. Also coming in, I believe that is either Vijay Pushunda or Ike Durbin. Those cars look very similar. And Costa Theodorakis and Mark Blackwell both were involved in the big wreck. The very next lap, as you see, Claire Alcier and Brandon LaRoe are going to stay out another lap. As you see Brooke Ingerson come in, Axel Andersson, Frederick Yeager, Joe Rodriguez, Thurston Blood, Daniel Melrose over there a lap down, Calvin O'Reilly, James Jones, Scott Washington. As you see, that is Vijay Pushunda, so that was Ike Durbin came in the lap before, Matt Brinson. So a majority of the field is going to come in this lap. And the next lap, the rest of the field is going to come in for their final stops as Claire Alcier and Brandon LaRoe come in here. A very crucial stop for these two, as the entire outcome of the race could be decided on this one pit stop. As you can see here, the rest of the field coming in. Steve Holliday Jr., Jacob Card, and Gerald Johnson coming in for their final stops of the race with about 10 to go here. And also another interesting thing, I've also seen a lot of two-tire stops in this final round of pit stops. And after pit stop cycle through, Claire Alcier is going to have about a 3-second lead over Brandon LaRoe, and she's going to have a bunch of lap cars in between the two of them as we're coming to the closing stages of this race, as he's now trying to battle around Frederick Yeager. But at this stage is now, with such a big lead, there's no need to push the issue or anything. Leah Cerrone, however, after that set of pit stops, now running in 6th, as she was one of the few people that took 2 tires on that last stop. Lynx Racing is the other team, along with Black Diamond Racing, to have 3 cars. That 8 car that Cerrone's driving actually was the old Gutierrez team. She's remained fairly anonymous all race until that interesting bit of strategy at the end has now put her just outside the top 5. It looks like the battle for 4th is going to get real interesting as Holliday and Cerrone are going to catch up to Jacob Card. Holliday, with the help of Cerrone, is going to have the advantage as you see a exit turn 1. Let's see how they will going into 2, but no, Cerrone is going to then go up to the outside with Card. And it's Card that's going to keep the spot for now, as it looks like now Holliday is going to drop back to 6th. Like I said, that outside is the preferred line. But if you have someone on the inside with you, you can make it work, and Cerrone decided to switch to the outside, and now going to take 5th from Holliday, as now Gerald Johnson looks like he's going to move up into the fight as well, as it's looking to now become a 4-way battle for 4th, as let's see if Cerrone's and Holliday are going to try to make the move on the inside, as you see Card has no help up there, but they can't make it work just yet, as they now have lap traffic to deal with. Those are the 2 damaged cars of Yafaliana Mija and Jacob Eichholz, both who were involved in the big wreck. Both those cars are significantly off the pace, and it looks like Cerrone and Holliday are going to use those 2 cars as a pick to get around Jacob Card. Gerald Johnson does as well, as it looks like now Card's going to move back to 7th, as Holliday is now going to have a shot at Cerrone for 4th. I think it's pretty obvious that this is probably the most interesting battle on the track right now, as Gerald Johnson now coming into the picture, trying to make it 3 wide, as Holliday has no help on the bottom, as Cerrone looks like he's going to keep the position for now, but Holliday staying right there, but has now got Johnson to worry about. Card is also right there, as it looks like Cerrone is going to pull away the position right now, as now Holliday now battling Johnson for 5th, as you see them now going into 4. See, it looks like Holliday's going to keep the position there. Now it looks like Jacob Card now going to battle Johnson for 6th, as things looks like they're starting to calm down on this end here, as Card and Johnson continue to battle for the 6th spot. But anyway, it's going to be smooth sailing for Claire Alcier, who remained unchallenged in that final run, and is going to take her 2nd career TM Lights victory here at Peoria. Alcier would lead almost exactly half the race to clinch herself the most lap led bonus, which will give her 65 points total for this race. Brandon LaRoe finishes in 2nd, about 3 seconds back. Brooke Ingerson rounds out the podium. That car really came to life in the second half of the race. Steve Holliday Jr. in 4th, best career finish for him. Leah Cerrone finishes in 5th. Great strategy call by that number 8 team on that final stop, as that got her a top 5. Gerald Johnson finishes 6th. That is the best finish for any of the Unit 11 Motorsports cars, who have performed pretty dismally despite the Gessler support. Jacob Card finishes in 7th. I believe that is his 3rd top 10 this season. Joe Rodriguez in 8th. Really looked like he had a car that could possibly win the race, but that car really fell off in the second half. Calvin O'Reilly has a quiet run in 9th, and Axel Andersson rounds out the top 10. Also had a car that could possibly win the race, but similar to Rodriguez, things just fell apart in that final stint and really has nothing to show for it. Vici Pashunda finishes in 11th. I believe that's the best finish for him this season. That team has been kind of off this year. James Jones finishes in 12th in the defending championship winning team, and Matt Brinson with a quiet run in 13th, the last car on the lead lap. Ike Durbin finishes 14th in the second Great Lakes Motorsports car, first car lap down. Scott Washington in 15th, had a strong run for most of the race, and like similar to Rodriguez and Andersson, really fell apart in the final run and actually fell a lap down. Bobby Dollar rounds up in 16th. Thinking that he battled the leaders for most of the second half, it's a shame that he didn't finish on the lead lap. Darren Cardell finishes in 17th, Lane Cranston in 18th, Thurston Blood ends up in 19th. Had a strong car early in the race, got screwed over by the timing of that first caution, as it seems that nothing can go the way of the 2011 champion. And Daniel Melrose ends up in the final points paying position, but will end up getting the pole bonus, which will end up getting him 6 points to end the race. Now let's take a look at the point standings. As expected, Paul Lyons' lead is cut in half pretty much, as he was involved in the big wreck. However, he still holds a somewhat comfortable 23-point lead over Claire Alcier, who jumped up to second with the win. Brandon LaRoe moves up to third with the second place finish. However, he's a good 40 points behind Lyons. Axel Andersson now in fourth, 41 points behind. Now only if he could have finished where he was running most of the race instead of where he ended up, he would be sitting in a much better position, but overall it just wasn't meant to be. Same goes with Scott Washington, who's in 5th, 42 points behind. Matt Brinson, who's having a quiet season, running in 6th. Ike Durbin, the Road Atlanta winner, is in 7th. Brooke Ingerson with the 3rd place finish is actually tied for Durbin for 7th. However, the tiebreaker is Durbin has a win, Ingerson does not. Bobby Dollar, the Carbondale winner, is now in 9th, and Han Yun Sung takes a hard hit in the points, now drops to 10th, as he got screwed over twice today, both under similar circumstances. Leah Saroni moves up to 11th with the top 5 finish. Huffy Boyanaz in 12th, slowly moving her way downwards after winning at Fontana. Jacob Eichholz in 13th, Mike Andrews 14th, Jacob Card moves up to 15th. Steve Hollett Jr. jumps into the top 20 after a top 5 finish. He's now in 16th. James Davidson in 17th. Lane Cranston 18th. Joe Olenek is in 19th after being involved in the big wreck. And Calvin O'Reilly rounds out the top 20 points as the series next heads to the Milwaukee Mile in Wisconsin.